can I tell you a story?
Please.
So I was living in New York City, and I was producing entertainment there in New York City, and I produced entertainment that traveled all throughout the United States and Europe. And in 2010, I got laid off. Happens in the entertainment industry, right? And I was like, I am of a certain age, I'm living in New York City, I wanna get out, where do I wanna go? Jacksonville came to mind. And the reason is, well, first of all, I went to school at Florida State, and I had a bunch of friends that lived here, and I loved Florida. I loved northern Florida in specific. And anytime I would come and hang out with my friends, I would really enjoy Jacksonville. And the other thing about Jacksonville is I thought, well, this is a city that is on the precipice of becoming something great. And what I thought that I could offer is, let's use the entertainment as a way to revitalize, entertainment and arts and culture as a way to revitalize downtown. And so what this job landed me was a very specific niche where we're bringing arts and culture, and what it does is that it activates the downtown, which is, of course, helping for people to see themselves within downtown, which is helping the developers sell downtown. So that's my story of how and why I wanted to be here. My name is Liz McDonald, and I am the executive director of Friends of James Weldon Johnson Park. The greatest thing about parks and entertaining people within a park is it is accessible to all. You can have people that are unhoused, and you can have people that are making six figures and more, hanging out in the same space and enjoying the same music, the same entertainment. And it is truly an egalitarian space to be. And that is what we all strive for here at James Weldon Johnson Park. We want to be the park for everybody. I'll tell you that I love Central Park, right? But my favorite park in all of Manhattan was a park that was at the southern tip, and it was just very quiet. And it had this beautiful restaurant inside it, and then you have a view of the Statue of Liberty, and it's called Wagner Park. And I would go there on the weekends with my New York Times and maybe a coffee, maybe a little snack or breakfast or whatever, and just look at the water, look at the boats passing by, and you know, see the Statue of Liberty, see Jersey on the other side. It was so romantic. It's like that kind of like New York life that people romanticize about, but it's wonderful. And it's very simple. That's all it needs to be, is just a place where you can hang out and experience other people. In fact, one day I was there, and in the restaurant, Jay-Z and Beyonce were there. So it was like, again, people that are very, very fancy, and the people like me that weren't fancy at all. You know, I think James Weldon Johnson Park has something even more unique, because there's so much history in the park. It's 160 years old in 2026. So think about all the people that have passed through. And some of those people are Lyndon Johnson and John F. Kennedy. And, you know, I have a friend who saw Roy Rogers perform in the park, and I'm sure you don't even know who Roy Rogers is, but that's old for me. So yeah, so there's been so many people that have come through the park, and it's really, that's what makes this park so wonderful. There's a spot inside the park that not many people know about, and then people pass right through it, or right by it. It's called the Coquina Rock. And the Coquina Rock is what we know of is probably the oldest artifact in downtown. And it is in the spot that is approximately where it was many, many years ago, before Calford even existed. And it was where the Spanish Way and the English Road crossed. And so it was like the trade route pre-Jacksonville history. And that slice of history is right here in James Weldon Johnson Park. So that just kind of knowing all the people that pass through, of course, the Native Americans, the Spanish, the English, the French that were here for a bit, and then, of course, all the people that have passed through. The fact that we're right on the steps of City Hall, the fact that we've had more protests and more people speaking their voice right here in front of City Hall, that to me is never lost, because the people that have come through the park are what makes the park so special. A successful park, to me, means there's a placemaking concept, which is called the parameter of 10. So a successful park has 10 things to do within it. And then, of course, it expands out from there. Then there's 10 good things to do, not the park being one of them, and then there's 10 things around it. And then it goes out from there. And so this power of 10 is exponential. So Jacksonville's downtown is going to be the most successful when that power of 10 expands from the river and across the way up to through Springfield and to the stadium and beyond and out east and to Riverside and Brooklyn. And so that power of 10 is expanding. But my little Cosmo here is the power of 10 that happens right here in the park. So on any given day, you can buy lunch from a food truck. You can listen to music. You can meet your friends. You can enjoy the shade. And these are just, I know that they're not like, hugely active things, but you know what? It's still something. You can read a book. You can play dominoes with the dominoes players out there. There's this power of 10 that's what we need to get to, is that we need to have at least 10 things in the park and then have 10 things beyond that and beyond that and beyond that.
And what number do you think you guys are at right now?
I think we're probably around 7.
Okay, almost there.
We're almost there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We've got some new exciting things happening in 2026 to get us to 10. Well, one of the things that we're going to do is this things to do, right? And we've got an event called Happy Mondays that's going to happen every single Monday. And take a break from your daily life, come out and, play Connect 4. You can even got some putt-putt golf, some beanbag toss, and of course things like that. Even play Monopoly, some board games, things like that. The most excited I am is about an exhibit that we're going to have at the Jessie Bell DuPont Center, which is telling the stories of the people of the park. And because, like I said, the people are what makes it most special. And we've got personal histories from individuals that you might not have ever heard from before, right? But they're the everyday people that show up to the park, that utilize the park, that have a connection to the park, and we want to tell those people's stories. So we've worked with Barbara Colacello on capturing these stories, and then Tony Smilegich to capture their images, and we're going to have a photo exhibit that'll be up from March through May in the Jessie Bell DuPont Center. So our connection and our friends over there. A couple of years ago, we solicited feedback on what a new design should look like for the park. And of course, overwhelmingly, people thought less brick, more grass. They want the trees, they want grass. This brick that's been inside the park has been since 1977. Yeah. And of course, that was in fashion at the time. It's not in fashion any longer. And we want that connection to earth, real grass, just much, much more natural. So that's the direction that we're going in. We are probably just a few months away from being able to show the final designs. From what that would be, I will say that one of the biggest things is a stage that is currently and will be still right inside the like JTA Skyway right in front of there. Because of course, this park has been about raising voices and being heard. And of course, we want to make sure that we have a stage in order for people's voices, people's talents to be shown, and of course, to have Jacksonville's special moments celebrated. And that's what we're going to do in this very public and very free to all climate. That's the park. We're going to do 160 events in the park this year for 160 years. Now, some of those events are normal lunchtime musicians, and some of those are going to be absolutely special events. We've got a brand new event we're going to announce next week, so I can talk about it here. It's called The Cookout, and we're working with United Way on this, and we're actually celebrating and connecting all the neighborhoods in Jacksonville, and we're going to have some friendly competition, like vote for your favorite neighborhood, and have everybody come down and really celebrate all of Jacksonville. And we'll have them kind of separated out, and people can go around and kind of see what's in other neighborhoods, of course, without leaving the park, just right here. I think the biggest through line from 160 years to now has been community. The park was, of course, Isaiah Hart first designed this park in his head, and of course this is before Jacksonville even existed. He designed the park in his head thinking, okay, this is going to be Jacksonville's center for commerce and community. And it's still that today. Now, it's more, maybe not so much commerce. We don't have as much commerce as we do in downtown as we used to, but definitely community. This is the space where Jacksonville comes together. And we see it in, our surveys. We've got people that come from all over town into downtown for the events that we have here. Not just Springfield and not just Riverside, but we've got people coming from out east and from north side and west side and south side. It's really the people's park. So we have a totem that Rue Arts did within the park, and it's called the Neighborhood Totem. And it is in the northeast corner of the park in a flower bed, right? But it literally, you can see every single neighborhood in Jacksonville, and it's represented in this totem pole. And it's, of course, artfully done by Rue Arts with all of their fabulous mosaics. And it's colorful, it's bright, it celebrates who we all are and bringing them all together here in Jacksonville. Well, I think art, that's one of our Power of 10 too. You can see art in the park, right? So that's a good thing. They're sourced in a variety of different ways. So at one point we were working with the UNF sculpture students to create artwork that they would work on, and we would pick a few different ones and we would put them in the park. So that's one way. We also were given a very gracious gift by Preston Haskell, which is the big piece of sculpture as you enter from Laura Street and Monroe Street there. That was a really, really beautiful gift that was given to us. Then there were also the flowers that are benches, so it's functional art, and that's done by the awesome Jenny Hager, and that is an Art in Public Places program. So there's all different kinds of ways that we collect art. And of course, MoCA is right across the street from us. But we work with MoCA, all the time to make sure that art spills out of MoCA. And even if it's more like on their family days, when they bring in kids and have art interactive activities, we're outside here with our food trucks and with dancers and with entertainment, and really kind of matching that so that art spills out from MoCA and the library and into the park. So we are all one big happy family. There comes a time in the planning process where I'm like, why did we do this? And they're like, it's going to be fine. And then after the event, it's always, or during and after the event, it's always like, this is my favorite event that we've ever done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the arc. That's my arc. That's like my planning arc. But I will say this, that last year was the first time we did our JWJ B-Day 5K, which is fun to say, right?
Love that.
And ViStar was our sponsor for it, and they're going to be back again, which I love. And one of my board members works for ViStar, and so she pushed me to do this, which I loved. And I'm like, okay, we do everything with intention, right? So how are we going to do a 5K with intention? So what we talked about is that we're going to walk the steps, because it's James Weldon Johnson, right? It's our namesake. We're going to walk in the same path that James Weldon Johnson did. So the routing that we took was very intentional, where we went past historic Stanton and past Lift Every Voice and Sing Park, and then came back. And of course, James Weldon Johnson has ties to James Weldon Johnson Park. His dad worked across the street at the St. James Hotel. He was in this park many times. So there's a connectivity there. So even though, yeah, it's a 5K, and you runners run it, and then great. But ours was very intentionally walking in the footsteps of our local hero. And then of course we had a birthday party, and we had bubbles and champagne and cake, and and I was very happy. There was one lady that came up to me after the event and was like, I have never felt so connected to a community as I did here tonight.